Okay, welcome to Tangent Graphs Medium. So we're going to do a medium problem for tangent graphs. So just to recap, if you watch the basic videos, you understand that a tangent graph have some asymptotes, and then it just repeats like this. Also, you need to know that the period is only a period of pi. That means from start to finish. It only goes from start to finish. It only goes through pi, okay? And it starts at negative pi over 2, and it goes and ends at positive pi over 2. So these are the basics. Also, when you look at this equation here, you need to know what gives you the dilation, what changes the period, what gives you the phase shift, and what gives you the vertical shift. So the A will give you the dilation. It's the B that will affect the period. C will give you the phase shift. And D will give you the vertical shift. Okay, now, if you watch the difficult tangent graph video, we're going to deal with all four of these, okay? But to keep it simple on the medium, we're going to do a dilation, a vertical shift, and a phase shift. We're not going to cover changing the period, okay? Also, to review, when you do change the period, it's helpful to just think of it initially. If you can see, the edges of these two protractors are the asymptotes, and the period is either getting smaller or getting longer, okay? Okay, so, but we're going to have the same period. Our period is going to stay pi, okay? The length of the period will be pi, and we're going to graph this function y is equal to 3 tangent of x minus pi over 4 minus 2, okay? I would suggest that when you do this, just make a list of the transformations you're going to make here. Okay, so this 3 means it's a dilation of 3. You can think of this as a vertical stretch. Okay? Your graph's going to get skinnier. Okay. The negative 4, this is our phase shift. And remember, phase shifts are always opposite the sign. So we're going to phase shift to the right pi over 4. Finally, the negative 2, that's our vertical shift of negative 2, which means we're going to go down 2. Okay? All right, so we're going to take this basic graph, and you can hopefully you can visualize this. It's going to be shifted to the right pi over 4. It's going to be shifted down negative 2, and it's going to be dilated, which means it's going to shoot up faster. Okay, so let me go ahead and graph this. Now, I know my period is still pi. The reason is because b, the value of b is 1. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is decide where my asymptotes are. The asymptotes do only depend on the phase shift, if you've been shifting to the right or to the left, and whether or not your period has changed. So our period has not changed. It's the same width. We're just going to take our two asymptotes, again if I use this, and we're going to shift them to the right pi over 4. So let me put some markings on here. It's negative pi over 4. It's negative pi over 2. Pi over 4. Pi over 2. And we'll have to go over to 3 pi over 4. So again, originally the asymptotes are negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. If we shift them both over to the right pi over 4, we're going to have our asymptotes at negative pi over 4 and at 3 pi over 4. Okay, but the length of the period is still pi. If you add up 4 pi over 4, you get pi. Okay. Now, 0, 0 is normally the center of the tangent graph, but we're going to have to shift this around. So we're going to have to shift to the right pi over 4, and then there's also a vertical shift of -2. So we're going to go to, excuse me, to the right pi over 4 and down -2. This is now our new center of our graph. We're just taking, if I can go back to the original, taking the original center and going over pi over 4 and down -2 to find the new center. Okay, how does the dilation work? All right, well, we know, if we look at our unit circle, that normally at pi over 4, the tangent graph is at 1, and at negative pi over 4, the tangent graph is at -1. The dilation means that these numbers are going to be multiplied by 3. So at pi over 4, it's going to be 3, and at negative pi over 4, it's going to be -3. Okay, so we're going to have to basically, we're going to go to the normal at pi over 4, we're normally at 1, but we've been shifted to the right pi over 4 and down -2. And then the dilation of 3 means that we have to multiply this by 3. So basically, there's a much easier way to do this, and this is how you do it. You go over, you start at your new center, you go over a pi over 4, and you go up 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then let me extend this. And then starting at your new center, you go to the left pi over 4, and you go down 3. And that's the easiest way to get the dilation. And then, you just draw on a sketch, and my sketches are not getting better as these videos go on. Okay, if you're then asked to continue to graph it, you can graph this, just repeat this pattern to the right and to the left, and you will have graphed a tangent function with medium difficulty.